Hello and welcome to another episode of Nostalgia. I am so excited to have one of my best friends here with me today. Nikki Pebbles is here. I mean, this is someone who literally named her business after a Backstreet Boys song, which is iconic and important, and one of the reasons why she's here today. So,
Yes.
welcome, Nikki.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited. I also made sure that I put, if you're watching this on camera, everyone, everyone who has the two like money pieces in the front,
Mm-hmm.
this is Y2K, baby. Okay, we had these curled back then. That's what that looked like. So I purposely put these back in the front just for you, just for this episode.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I read an article, I can't remember where, but it said that those basic what we call money pieces, because
Yeah,
what else are they called, the little strips of hair that you have in front of your face pulled
right.
out of your ponytail or whatever, called tendrils. And I'm like, that sounds so wrong. I'm going to continue to call them money pieces and nothing else.
Right. I mean, to be honest with you, I distinctly remember everyone's Sweet 16, everyone's, and prom, and
Yeah,
prom. It was this with, did you have the fake ponytail bun? The one that
I did.
literally,
I
you
did.
did? Okay,
Hmm.
so did I. So that was, especially for dance, right? It was the big fake thing up top and then two
Yeah.
pieces in the front, and you were rocking it, honey. You were
It
rocking
was a
it.
beautiful look, and for cheerleading especially
Was
when
it a
I
beautiful look? I mean,
at the time we think everything's a beautiful look at the time, but yeah, when I did cheerleading, my hair was so long and so thick and very straight, and you had
yeah.
to have a curly ponytail for a cheerleading
Yes.
competition. I
Yes.
literally couldn't curl my hair, and so my mom's like, forget it, we are going to Sally's Beauty Supply, we're buying a fake giant claw clip
Yep.
with end, because it was 2004, the curly hair had highlights as well. So it was
Because
brunette, but with
what
highlights.
right, with the caramel highlights.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
would it be 2004 if it didn't have I mean,
Absolutely not.
just add in some sun in and
Mm-hmm.
you would be good to go, honey. I mean, you could just say like, "Oh, I put some sun in my hair. That's my natural highlights." People, oh my God, like, come on, get out of here.
Did you do scrunched hair? Because that was something else that I didn't really get to experience because I have very straight hair.
Okay, let me tell you the process of scrunched hair because it was a process. First of all, if you did scrunched hair, you went through two of the following ways. Number one, and I'm not going to be able to remember what the name of it was, but it had like four distinct gel colors. It was like purple, blue, green, and yellow, I think. And like each color represented like a level of like crunchiness. Basically, it was that, or you were using the Aussie scrunch spray. I did
Mm-hmm.
both. I mean, I was that person, and I would put the gel in, and then put it like at the top of my head, and then I would spray it with the Aussie spray, and I would wake up in the morning, and my hair just would not move. And then I would take my ConAir water-filled straightener and just the front of my bangs to be completely straight. I would love
Mm-hmm.
to sue the person who thought that that was supposed to be a trend. Um, but honey, that was junior high with my mud jeans and my princess
Mm-hmm.
shirt. You couldn't touch me. Thank you very. I was
Yeah.
royalty. I wasn't. I was a nerd, but I thought I thought that I was royalty.
That's amazing. I know. And with that, with kind of like the curly girly trend of like the actually, this was a little bit of a predecessor to it, but I've talked about the curly girly aesthetic before on the pod, where it was like, I would say this was more for young millennials and kids of the 2000s, where like the princess motif and the crowns and the limited two kind of aesthetic, I
Yeah.
think that was very prevalent. But I don't know what I would call this micro niche, but just thinking of like the princess vibes. Remember how like in bowling alleys and at the grocery store there would be those vending machine kind of things and they
Uh-huh.
would have stickers and it
Yes.
there was this very famous one of like this cat and it was like
Yes.
a cat but it was a very
Yes.
chic cat and she was
Yes.
wearing a little necklace and
Yep.
these stickers would say 100% angel or like things like that and you're like wow, I am a legitimate princess.
I have a very funny story about that. So, growing up, I was okay. So, I have to tell it like people know, you obviously know I'm the middle child, but people who are watching this don't know I'm the middle child. Okay, so I have an older brother. I was the first girl, and then I have a younger sister. So, my parents were very strict with me, and when it was like the 2000s, I was in like junior high. So that's when everything was baby, hottie, princess, like low cut jeans were the thing, bell bottoms, hi. Body image issues, yes. But I
Hi.
really hi. Enter chat here. But
Mhm.
I really wanted to wear the hottie shirts. Oh, and Steve Madden platform shoes. That's very important too
Mhm.
to the story. So I really, really wanted a shirt that said hottie on it. And my mom was like, absolutely not. You're not going to
Mhm.
do that. So, me being the Scorpio child that I was, I went to Mandy's and I bought socks that said hottie on them, thinking, wow, how rebellious am I?
You're a rebel.
I was
Wow.
a rebel. And I remember hiding these socks from my mother. And they were hottie and they had the devil's tail coming out of it. Whoa. Whoa.
That's
I mean,
scandalous.
scandalous. And then I remember going to Elena Rubin's party in 6th grade. And my mom let me, I will never forget this outfit. Like, RIP this outfit, because I felt like Maddie from Euphoria in this outfit. Furthest
Mhm.
thing from it, but in, in my mind, I was her.
Wait, you didn't walk so Maddie Perez could run? That's so funny. I didn't realize that.
I had on this, it was a white long sleeve shirt. It said princess on it. And it had like, it was like confetti around the princess, right? With a little crown.
Mm.
And then I had were they mud jeans? I'm pretty sure they were mud jeans. They were mud low rise jeans, but they had the tie up with the brown tie,
Mhm.
and they were bell bottoms. If you know,
It
you
was
know.
always a brown tie.
It's always a brown tie.
Mm.
And I wasn't allowed to wear the Steve Madden platform shoes.
Mhm.
The I want to amplify. I wanted the high ones, not the mini ones, and I wanted the SM in the back. Again, if you know, you know.
Mhm.
However, I wasn't allowed to get them. One, because they were very expensive. Two, because my mom said only sluts wear them. So
Yeah.
she went and
You were
got me.
like, you're 8 and you're like, you're 12 and you're like,
So my mom got me the Payless version.
oh
So
my gosh. She BOGO'd it up for
she
you.
BOGO'd it up for me, baby. So I
R.I.P. to Payless.
we miss you so much. But I
Mm.
had the Payless shoes on with the bell bottom mud jeans and my princess shirt and horribly straightened ConAir straightener hair. What a look. But you couldn't, I was like, I am that bitch. Like, I am that
Mhm.
bitch. You could, and wait, honorable mention for Shaggy. Girl, you're my angel was playing in the basement that
Mm.
night with my 6th grade boyfriend who wouldn't put his arm around me.
I was going to say, you
What?
were slow dancing with somebody or something in that basement. I just
And
know
I
it.
smelt of J.Lo, the J.Lo perfume.
Yeah.
I hope this is giving. Listen, I could not get more descriptive than that. That I will never forget that night. I was that girl. I was
Painting the
material girl.
picture.
Material girl. That was me.
Mhm.
That was
Mhm.
me. What a memory. Yeah.
That is so beautiful. I feel like okay, with Con Air, everything was ConAir, but it wasn't until I would say the Chi, and I think there were a few other straightener brands that got like extremely popular more in the
Hot Tools. That for me
yeah,
it was Hot Tools.
more in like the mid to late 2000s, cuz when I was in middle school only like a hand select few people straightened their hair. I was not one of them. I because my hair was straight. I thought, why would I need to straighten my hair? But you
Right.
know, as hair tends to kind of have a mind of its own sometimes,
Yeah.
um, it wasn't until these tools really became widely used by everyone until that like extremely like fried look was it.
Right. Oh, yeah. Well, because you went from like scrunch your hair, like your hair better be curly, to complete completely straight. And I begged because I got my Conair one from Walmart, and
Mm.
then Hot Tools came out, and it was the Hot Tool one. I have to find a picture of this. It was the it does not look like the flat irons of today. It literally looks like an Eggo maker. Like it looks like a waffle maker. Like that's literally what it was. It was completely flat, and again, it wasn't quite the sizzle as Conair,
Mm.
but the Hot Tools one was very expensive, and I think what's interesting is and again, I don't know the exact dates, but I would say that was probably around the time Ulta was coming out, and that's when Hot Tools started coming out too, right? So like again, I don't know exact dates. I would love to know the dates of that, but I know Hot Tools, like once I got into high school, was like that was the it girl. Like if you didn't have a Hot Tools, were you even straight? If you didn't have a Hot Tool, and if you didn't have the one curly like wave back piece, were you even straightening your hair? If you weren't smelling like Victoria's Secret Sweet Pea and Hot Tools, were you even in high school? Like,
It's like
what
the
were you
smell of
doing?
sweet pea love spell and like faintly burned crispy hair. And like you felt bad when there was always like that one piece in
No
the back
matter
of someone's head
what,
they couldn't reach.
no
Hey, at
matter
least
what,
everybody had to deal with it, right? Like at least it was
everyone
everybody.
did. Everyone did. 100%. And like, especially in that period, again, too. Like, listen, J.Lo was that girl. Why?
Mm.
Like, I had a pink J.Lo tracksuit,
Mm-hmm.
smelling of sweet pea.
Mm.
Again, it girl, honey. Like,
Yeah, I feel
so
like
good.
J.Lo actually goes very much hand in hand with the like 2000s mall aesthetic, because when you
Yeah.
think of like the juicy tracksuits and a belly chain or something of that nature, like that's what you could buy at Rave Girl or Weather Vane
Oh my
or
God. Wait, did you have
yeah.
579 by you?
I didn't have it by me, but I have heard of it.
579 was it. Wait, did you have your belly button pierced in high school?
Yeah, when I was 18, it was like the first thing that I did when I
Me
went to college.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
Well, I
Me
saw
too.
Adriana Lima had it, and so
Mm,
naturally, if she
one
jumped off
must
a
get
cliff,
one.
I would as well.
Right.
Um, and body image issues enter the chat once again.
Here it comes.
Um, here it goes. But
Here it goes.
yeah, even like that whole right, the mall culture of the 2000s, like in contrast to the 90s, and the whole like the Victoria's Secret pink when that really came out onto the scene. It's like we had our perfumes, we had Victoria's Secret, we had some Bath and Body Works mainstays, we had the body glitter that literally gave me allergic reactions, and I went to the
Right.
middle school dance still being like, but this, but so what?
I
So
mean,
what if I literally broke out into
one
hives in this
one must
dance?
grind to Sean Paul at school dances. So if you have
Get
hives,
busy.
get busy. Shake that booty now with
When
hives.
people say, "Oh, what like era would you wish that you could have grown up in?" or like, "What, time are you really from?" It's like, no, I was meant to be in middle school when Get Low by Lil Jon and Get Busy by Sean Paul came out. I
It
would
was
not rather be living it any time.
me either. I mean, that was the first song that I ever grinded with a boy with, like, ever. And that's when, like, grind trains came.
Yeah, yeah.
And
We do
also
have to
say
talk about middle school dance culture. That's
we
incredible.
absolutely do, because you know what? You know what speared that? You know what? You know who walked so we could ran on that? Save the
Who?
Last Dance. Save the Last Dance.
Oh my
I
god. I haven't seen
I
that in forever. I need a rewatch.
that movie was such a huge part of who I ended up being. Like, when I really think about it, like,
Hmm.
oh my god, that movie was just incredible to me. And I actually watched it like a year or two ago and was like, "Oh god, like her dance part, like, so cringy." That dance,
Yeah.
the just like, what were we doing? But like, I just remember watching that in junior high school and being like, "Oh, whoa." And like, every middle school dance, like, we were doing what was happening in that movie. Like, that movie was
Hmm.
such, and then that's kind of what catapulted, like, Stomp the Yard. And I mean,
Hmm.
Stomp the Yard was a little bit, I think we were probably more in high school when that came out,
Yeah.
but still though, like, we were in the that was like the dance time. So like, school
Yeah.
dances, like, that was it. You bring your A game and get busy. Like, I was like, who am I dancing with? Let's go. Like,
Wow.
oh, yeah, what a moment.
I was much more not even shy. Like I've never been a shy person. I just feel like if there was any time that I don't know, that kind of made me anxious in middle school was the dances because the guy that I liked never went. And so it was like this kind of hope that he would go, but he never
Right.
did. And then I would like wear this gray like windbreaker, which in 2022 people would be wearing it.
Listen, she brought
They
it
would
back,
love it.
you know?
Right? Like
She brought it back.
she loved well, actually she hated the windbreaker, but you know when you leave the house and your mom's like you have to wear a jacket and you're like to a dance? Yes, over my like ruched tank top with spaghetti straps that
Right.
I would still wear today. I had to
Right.
wear a windbreaker to the dance. And then when you got to the dance, there would be this enormous pile of jackets because people would go in the gym and throw their jackets into this pile
Yes.
that was so high. And I would just pray every month, being like, please, someone steal this jacket.
Oh,
Please, so I don't have to wear it anymore. And of course, no,
no one stole
no,
it. No
no one
one
wanted that.
stole that
No.
jacket. Oh my
Mm.
god, I hated wearing jackets. I hated wearing jackets so much.
I mean,
It's so
I
funny.
had a few over the years that I liked, and I find that now when I have very cute jackets, especially for winter, because I'm just not a huge winter person. At
Mhm.
least if I look cute, then it makes me feel better about being a little bit cold.
True. True, true, true. Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, I had, again, bringing J.Lo back into the picture. My mom bought me a white J.Lo puffer jacket that had pink fur around it. Now, just to give everyone context, I have bright red hair. Not that I had bright red hair back then, but um that that doesn't correlate at all. However,
Well, for anyone
the
who's listening and not
anyways,
watching us right now,
I
Nikki
have
is
bright red
bright
hair.
red hair.
Bright red hair. But I did it back then.
Emphasis on bright red hair.
However, I was still just as accident prone as I was today. Now, I know for a fact if I had that jacket today, it would be pink because I have bright red hair. Um, but back then, I just remember thinking like, "Oh my god, this is the most amazing jacket ever." And yet I got that ish so dirty all of the time. But again, like, it was just J.Lo really was that moment. Like,
Hmm.
I didn't realize how much I loved Jennifer Lopez, but now that I'm thinking about it, and again, here comes those body image issues. I She was the first person, honestly, that had my body. Like,
Mm.
because again, we grew up in a time where I didn't really like pink, like Victoria's Secret pink. That wasn't
Oh,
like
yep.
really my shtick, but but Victoria's Secret and like all of that. I mean, I distinctly my body my eating disorder was literally triggered by Mission Impossible 2. Like I distinctly remember watching, I think her name was like Zoe something, and I remember her running down the stairs and she was so thin. And I remember watching that being like, I have to be skinny like that too. And like that's boom, next day I stopped eating, honey. Like that. But that was what that whole culture, and I was in 6th grade. I
Mm-hmm.
just got my period. Like, and that's what that whole culture in that time was about, was like how thin could you get? So when J.Lo came out and I saw someone who actually had an ass and had my body, like she literally had my body, I was like, oh my God. And people like her, like,
Mm-hmm.
holy crap. It was such a pivotal moment in my body image mind that I was
Mm-hmm.
like, whoa. So I think that's probably, and even her perfume was like a pear shape. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
it was an hourglass. And I know people have opinions about J Lo now and all of that stuff, but I think back then that was just such a huge, huge moment in my life of being like, oh wow, like it's cool to be curvy. Like we can now be cool and be curvy and it's okay. And man, I now that we're talking about it, I really never put the pieces together, but that definitely, like, she played a really big role in like body acceptance for me. 100%.
That's what we do on Nostalgia. We unlock core memories, we bring people together, we make them feel like a part of something, and we resolve their childhood
We
traumas.
as one does, you know?
And just that's what we do on a
What we
weekly
do.
basis.
That's what we
Hmm.
do.
Yeah, I know it's interesting seeing yourself reflected because I think that often in pop culture, women especially would be so like, hmm, how do I want to say? Like there was either the blonde Barbie or the brunette Barbie, and there was like nothing in between, you know? And it's
Right.
less about, I know Barbie's used as an example a lot in terms of like media literacy and body image, but it's not about the doll itself because when children are playing, they have their imagination. It's just a doll. It's the same as if they played with a pile of dirt outside. It's not about the
Yeah.
doll itself, it's about the implications of being a woman and the expectations of women in society that are tied into what those
Into it.
dolls represent.
Oh, and to be honest with you, like I think what was even more damaging was the tabloids back then. Like think
Mm,
about, remember when Jessica Simpson had those high-waisted jeans
poor
on?
Jessica
Remember? Poor
Simpson. I
Jessica
feel bad for
Simpson
her.
with that black
Well,
tank top,
yeah.
and you know what I'm talking about? Like that one picture, I distinctly remember everyone being like, "Oh my god, like she's huge." And I look back on that picture and I'm like, "What?" Or I mean, I Tyra Banks is so problematic, but like that one picture of her in a bathing suit and people were like, "Oh," and she did a whole show about it, and there was just so many moments of of complete body dysmorphia within that time period that it
Mm-hmm.
makes so much sense as to why, like, to bring it back to today, why millennials bugged out when mom jeans came back, and then when low rise jeans were trying to make a comeback, people were bugging on TikTok,
Mm-hmm.
and as we should, because I don't think a lot of people really understand unless you grew up in that time period of how, to say it was nerve-wracking would be a massive understatement, but
Mm-hmm.
I remember sitting down at my desk in school and like I'm I've always been really curvy, but I just have big legs. Like that's just the way my body is. But I remember like when I would sit down, like my legs would cover the entire seat and I would just think like, "Oh my god, like I wish that I could just like slice my legs in half so they would be thinner. And like that was the normal thought process back then, along
Hmm.
with like eating kudos and snackwells. And remember when Kellogg's had a Kellogg's diet, and you would only eat the Kellogg cereal. It was it was such a bad like it makes so much sense why our core group of people, like our generation, has such massive body image issues, because every corner we were being told like your body is wrong and you need to do something about it.
Yeah, even like just all of those tabloids, like you mentioned, where, yeah, every single tabloid, the entire, not even just the cover, like the entire issue, it would be
Yeah.
like rating, grading, approving or denying of someone's physicality. And it's almost always and only women's bodies that are being picked apart. And this was just a time when, especially at like the turn of the century, this was just a time when the diet industry, I feel like exercise has had its moments throughout the decades and without history. Like, I remember even just seeing Richard Simmons when I was a kid and like
Mhm.
being obsessed with him. But like, and Tybo in the 2000s too. Like there were these really big fitness moments in pop culture, but the dieting culture was also like really huge with all of those snack foods, with the South Beach diet, with Atkins, like with all this crazy shit. And it really was damaging, but at the same time the industries were insanely profitable, and I really don't think that the average consumer, unless you were a consumer that was highly media literate and you could discern fact from fiction, you could look at something and say, yeah, obviously they're just trying to sell me something. It's easier to sell to someone who wants to fix themselves or change themselves or be someone else than it is to sell to someone who has confidence in themselves and says, you know what, I actually really don't need that. And I think that in my own recovery journey, media literacy has been the key point there, so that when these triggers for a lot of people come up now, like low rise jeans, which I actually saw the jeans with no pockets on the butt again, and I may actually be interested in buying those. I got an
They look
Instagram
good.
ad. I'm
They look
like, of course
they
I
look
did.
good. They
They
look
look good, so I
good.
might. But yeah, it's like now these trends can come back around, and it felt like then we didn't have a choice. Like Instinct versus BSB, we didn't have a choice. Christina versus Britney, we didn't have a choice. Be as small or as thin or as invisible as you can and fit
Yeah.
in. Like there were no other choices. And now it makes me happy to feel like I hopefully think that now young people who didn't live when we were growing up, that they realize that they can have a choice in who they want to be and how they present themselves in the world. Like I think maybe Gen Z, and you have perspective too, just as we're both in the TikTok world, but seeing people really lean into the authenticity of being themselves more in like a hyper curated, individualized world versus our generation, which was like the end of the monoculture where we were all really like trained to be the same thing.
Yeah, well, I think a really important part of this too is understanding as well, like where our parents were in this time period too, like specifically our moms, right? In that, you know, I saw a lot of this because my mom was doing those diets, right? And like
Mm,
and I think that plays a really large role. And I think now that we're all at an age, right, where, I mean, we don't have kids, but a lot of our peers have kids, right? And it's one of those things where it's very easy to fall into that trap of like freaking out about low rise jeans or freaking out about this and freaking out about that. And you're right, we do have the choice now of choosing something different and being more authentic. But I do think the scary part of this is the fact, like, I mean, I was on MySpace more towards the end of high school for me, and Facebook more in the beginning of college, and it definitely was not like it is today, um, with filters and ish like that.
Mm,
And I think that adds a whole nother layer into what Gen Z is going through now. And I think it's really important as millennials, right? I think although I understand, like, there was a lot of millennials who got really upset about like straight leg jeans going out of style, and it was like an attack on Gen Z. And I think what really needs to be remembered is that that is just like the patriarchy at its finest, working at its best, trying to
mm-hmm,
pit us all against each other. And I think at the end of the day, we really have to remember that it let's not damage this generation like how we were, where
mm,
I mean, I can only imagine how it would be if we had Snapchat and Instagram when we were 12 and 13 and 14 and 15, right? Like, I just think that it's really important to remember that yes, filters are fun. Yes, all of these things are fun, but and all of that, but let's not literally crucify Gen Z for how do I put this? Let's help them instead of being like, "Oh my god, all they're doing is making fun of us." Blah 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 blah. How
mm-hmm.
about we try to understand where they're coming from instead of being like, "Oh my," because let's not do that. Let's not play the role that happened when we were younger. Is basically kind of what I very complicated tried to explain, but you know what I mean.
No, absolutely. I do. And even the fact that every generation kind of feels about the ones before and after it, that young people are upset that they have to grow up in a world that the older generations designed. And
Yeah,
then the older generations get upset when the younger generation challenges that or makes
yeah,
principles, practices, beliefs, whatever. As the zeitgeist shifts, as cultural paradigms shift, as common beliefs shift, older generations get upset because younger generations disprove the old belief systems and render
yeah,
certain things obsolete. And people don't like that when their whole sense of identity or self or the building blocks on which they built their foundation, they maybe start to realize that there's some room for progression there. And
yeah.
that's how we feel about low rise jeans. Not that it's not toxic, but that's one of those like core building blocks because
Yeah,
millennial women were raised to believe that something's wrong with our bodies. And
yeah,
so if somebody even tries to challenge that, even if that's a positive thing, we're like, whoa. Or like, I mean, I've been I'm only bringing this up not to be divisive, but because when you mentioned the skinny jean versus a flare, you got to mention the side part versus the center part. I've had my center part
right.
since 1997, and it wasn't until or yeah, or 5, whatever, when I was a little kid, and it wasn't until the 2010s that I ever, like, I was in college the first time I ever even did a side part. But that was like the thing at the time. I always found that, I don't know, as much as I'm very aware of trends, I'm not always participating in them. And so then when they come back around in style, people are like, oh my God, you knew. I was like, well, I mean, you can either take this as like I'm a hipster or I'm like that unattached to the trend cycle, but
Yeah,
I'm obsessed with my middle part and I was even when it wasn't popular, and I've been obsessed with my flare jeans when everyone was still wearing skinny jeans, and it's like you have to just do what feels right for
do what
you.
feels right. I just I totally forgot about the side part, middle part thing. Like how again
How
though,
silly. I
like
know.
how it really, and I forget the TikTok, but someone made such a great TikTok just saying that, like, again, this is the patriarchy literally at work of
Right.
women pitting women against each other. Who cares? But at the same point, I just think that there are a lot of millennial women who there's a lot of generational PTSD. Like, and I say that as someone with a master's in psychology who can spot PTSD like that, like real quick. It is. Like it's really sensitive, and I think because we always just were told that you weren't good enough, we wanted to be the cool girl. Like that was it. Like that was growing up. You just wanted to be the cool girl. You wanted to be the popular girl. And that archetype was, oh, I mean, always in the past, but like to be the cool girl, like I think of Bring It On. You know what I mean? Like we all wanted to be that girl. We all wanted to be popular. And I think it just that attack, the side part, middle part thing really was a little triggering, very triggering for a lot of women that are our age because it just brought up the fact that you are not that girl. Like you're not cool. You're not cool.
Yeah.
You're wearing straight leg jeans and you have a side part. You're old. And oh, like both
Right.
both very valid, and it's not invalidating feelings. It's understanding quite literally where a lot of these millennial women were coming from and who haven't really dealt with the body image issues and how triggering and damaging that was in that time.
I think also, obviously, it's layered and it's very different now with technology, but in real life, bullying was like very, very prevalent then. And I would even say when I was in middle school, when I was on AIM, that's when like cyberbullying kind of started and became like a thing. Like, we were the generation that like got bullied first on the internet.
In
And
chat
it's
rooms.
like, right. And it's like, it's so troubling. Bullying is something that, like, it's just an issue that I care really deeply about because it's like they're real people and, behind all these computer screens and now phone screens. And we can't make change in the world or in the systems if we're too busy fighting each other. And I think that with calling millennials old and things like that, like they feel like those same wounded children who got bullied in school or who got bullied on AIM, and it brings up all those old feelings again.
Well, and I think a really important part to tie that into it is that, you know, I really do believe that the skincare industry is the new diet industry, like
Mm,
100%, right? I
totally.
really do believe that. And our generation, right, is obviously being like we are it, honey. Like they were like, "Oh, you're in your 30s now? Here's better put wrinkle cream, better get Botox, better get this." And I think it was the side part, center part thing was a really big pointer of like y'all are old now. Not that 30 is old. I want to emphasize
Mm-hmm.
that 30 is not old. But unfortunately, in the society that we live in, people want to still believe that 30 is old. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that that was a massive, massive reason why people got so upset. It was that we're not 16 anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And millennials lived through and still are currently living through some really unprecedented times. There is a lot of PTSD. And I think there is a little bit of Peter Pan syndrome in terms of like, I can't believe that we are actually adults now. And hearing a younger generation saying, y'all are old is really triggering for us. Slap
Mm.
on some wrinkle cream, like, and you're getting gray hairs now. Like, get a center part because and wear flare jeans because you're old. You see why people flipped. I see why a lot of us were like, I mean, me and you were taking pictures of mom jeans and we were trying desperately to figure out a pair that fit good. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I
Right.
am
We had
so
never
guilty of
worn
that.
mom jeans
They
before.
don't look good. Like, listen, I tried. I really put a good effort in.
Mm.
My butt's too big. Like it's just
Yeah.
and now everyone's wearing Abercrombie and Fitch, which um I just want to say this really quick. I know
Yeah.
I just wanted I feel like this is a good thing to put in here. And this is more pointed towards Victoria's Secret than it is, but Abercrombie and Fitch was also very damaging as well. It
Mm-hmm.
really boggles my mind. And I compare Abercrombie and Fitch coming back and Victoria's Secret trying to do their little quote unquote comeback. Um,
Mm-hmm.
There goes my sponsorships with them. But whatever.
Yeah, right. So
Whatever.
Abercrombie and Fitch is not gonna
I
sponsor
I am
Nostalgia.
off
That's weird.
I am off the PR list for that one.
Yeah.
And Victoria's Secret, but whatever. Anyway, I just think of them, unfortunately, like the way that they are making their resurgence. Specifically, this is specifically towards Victoria's Secret too. More so towards them. It just feels like the ex-boyfriend that comes back and says that they changed, but
Mhm.
really they're still a dick. Like really, they're
Mhm.
the same asshole, but they're just coming back with a better outfit and better hair and maybe some
Mhm.
different cologne. That's it. They're still a dick. That is truly what I feel about with Victoria's Secret and Abercrombie and Fitch. Y'all are still the mean girl in this
Mhm.
scenario, and I think it's just reasserting that we all want to be cool again.
Mhm.
I don't know. I really struggle with it. And listen, it's I heard their Abercrombie and Fitch's jeans are great for curvy girls, and I haven't tried it because I'm still just really spiteful towards them. Um, but even Victoria's Secret's new comeback, and they're trying to do this like extend their sizes. It's to a I think a 2X. That's it. And I'm like, how is that? That doesn't make any sense. You're inclusive
Mhm.
now to a 2X. That's not inclusive. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
That's not inclusive. And that to me just feels like you guys are just you're the ex-boyfriend that isn't different. You're just the same. You're just the
Right.
same.
And even like it's crazy now seeing like I worked at Aerie in I don't know, 2009 or 2010, and that was like just before they started doing all of the campaigns that people know them for now.
Yeah.
But I worked for Gilly Hicks, whose parent company is Abercrombie, in
Yep.
2008 to
Yeah.
2009. And that was still like in the era, the culture that everybody knows Abercrombie for of the
Yeah.
2000s. And it'd be one thing if after the former CEO who made some like really terrible comments about
Horrible.
people and is just whatever, it'd be one thing if he said, I'm leaving the company. And then they were like, okay, we're closing the company or whatever. But it's so hard because yeah, they can say like because when was the brand from like 1892 or something, and it's like first of all get a grip, like just start a new line or whatever, you know what I
Start a
mean,
new right.
start a
Right.
new brand or take a page from Aries book, copy them, I literally don't care, but like it's because they still are that mean girl,
Yeah.
they know that they can still capitalize off of people's insecurities. And when that's what made them so much money in the first place, you bet your ass they're going to do it again. And
Oh,
for
of
new people who
course.
didn't know them the first time around, oh my God, ANF Hall, let's go. And then the
It's
cycle continues.
it's just it's it's really upsetting to me. It really is. I think more so Victoria's Secret than Abercrombie and Fitch, but
Yeah.
yeah,
I really feel like that too. Is there, as we wrap up, is there just anything that you either would want to tell a young person now or like someone who sees you on TikTok or or someone who you would talk to who's our age in their 30s
Mhm.
about how to not let all of this stuff get them down?
Well, I think at the end of the day, it just comes down to like if we're talking to someone who's our age now, right? It's making peace with that stuff. We only knew what we knew back then. You know, that was quite literally the culture back then. You know, it was almost cool to hate your body. You know what I mean? No one
Mm,
talked about body acceptance back then. And I just think that there comes a point in your adulthood where, listen, I am dressing and acting and healing for the 15-year-old version of myself. I'm dressing the way that, like, the 50-year-old version of me, the 60-year-old version of me would think I was so freaking cool. She'd be like, "Oh my god, you
mm-hmm.
have red hair? Are you kidding me?" Like that and you get to dress how you want. You wear crop tops. Does mom know that you wear crop tops? Like that's you know what I mean? You can afford Steve Madden shoes? Are you kidding? Like
Mhm.
that I think it's so important, and this is the psychologist in me. It's so important to heal that teenager version of you and to do the things that the teenager version of you really wanted to do. So like if that means like wearing the cool chokers and wearing the cool shoes that you never got to wear, do that. Like that's so healing. Be the version of you that the 16-year-old version of you would be like, "Oh my god," because I wish like I started to love my body more now because my 16-year-old version of myself hated my body, hated my body. And I don't want her to feel that way anymore. I look back at pictures of myself at 16. I was like, I was so hot. Like, what was I thinking? You know,
Hottie.
like, what was I thinking? I was hottie. Hello.
Hottie,
Um,
hello.
so yeah, hello. So I just think whether you're 16 now, in 2022, or you're in your 30s, it's so important to just dress how you want. If that means wearing I have a Britney Spears t-shirt and I wear proudly, baby. Free
Mhm.
Britney. She's free. She's living. Like that to me heals my inner 16-year-old. So it's just about healing that teenager in you and and working together with Gen Z. Like it's not about
Mm.
fighting it. It's just let's not put more body image issues into the next generation. Like let's all come together and heal that ish.
Yeah, absolutely. You know that I love playing with my inner child and playing as my inner child, I
Mm,
guess, and dressing in the ways that my 7 and 17-year-old self would love to see. And when I've talked to people about that before, I've heard kind of the like, oh, well, if only I could see into the future. Oh, if only I could go back. And it's like, but you're you. You were there and you are here now. So it's like
right.
it's literally never too late to pursue doing, or especially wearing, as like I would say fashion is my main vehicle of self-expression. There's really no time other than right now and forever to do it.
Right. You can
Yeah.
afford it. Like you can
Mhm.
actually afford to buy the things instead of being like, "Mom, please buy me
Literally.
the jeans."
Actually, I was talking to my Grammy because she watched the podcast, obviously, because
Grammy, the
even
Taurus queen.
the
We
Taurus
love
Queen,
to see her.
every generation watches this podcast, okay? It's not just a millennial thing, every generation. And when we mention Limited too, she goes, I knew the sales girl on a first name basis. Like, that's how much we went to Limited too. I'm like, the things you did for your millennial grand
We
honors
have to do a part 2 of
with her.
literally just limited too. Well, with Grammy too, but
Oh,
like
yeah, Limited too. I know.
uh,
I
just
know.
about just the clothing stores of the 2000s.
I love it.
I really think we should because that would be a moment. Charlotte Root, please. We need
Oh, don't even. Part two. Here we go.
part 2. Hang up. Listen, okay, right. We got to start from the bottom and work it up. Right, 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 right.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, good. I'm glad we planned it. Thank you so, so, so much for being here.
Of
This is
course.
so fun. And
Hello, BFF. Are you kidding? Get out of here.
I know. Aw, thank you. And all right, this has been so fun. And we've already planned a part two. So we will see you next time.
Right. See you next
Bye.
time. Bye.